Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. We got to look at the final 5 games for the 3 teams battling for that 6th playoff spot.
Let's do it.
Really quickly, TSM is sitting at 6 wins with 5 games left. TL was at 5 wins. People thought they'd be losing to FlyQuest. They actually beat FlyQuest, so they're at 6 wins.
Heyo.
And 100 Thieves is at 5 wins. So it was looking a little more free for TSM, but now it becomes a little more precarious. So if they win this one's a question mark, this one's a question mark, you think they're gonna win this, and you think they're gonna lose this one. So that becomes pretty close with Team Liquid now because you thought they were gonna lose out this week, but they've already beaten one. I'm still gonna say they probably lose this one, but then there's a decent chance they can do this, although this one's a little question marky. But the wins are going to be close. And then obviously 100 Thieves, we're going to kind of track them later, but they have not the hardest schedule with a lot of possibilities to pick up some check marks down the line and a massive, massive game they'll have against TSM right there.
Yeah, the Team Liquid strength of schedule is still harder than TSM, so I guess that's the saving grace a little bit, given that they're tied in wins right now. But yeah, very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I also hear we have a little point on WildTurtle. He subbed in last week for Neo. He had a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I think you saw a lot of the things that made people excited about Turtle. It's his aggressive playmaking, the dash in here, getting in range, just standing on top of the opponents, flashing forward, doesn't get the kill, but shows that aggressive mindset. And it was something that, when you look at the stats, is very much backed up by that fact. Neo was usually down a little bit in pressure, down a little bit in gold, but with Turtle, they were actually able to win some of these early games that they were losing a lot of the times, and it's given them a little bit more carry potential for the team to try and pop off and just get a little bit more firepower as they head into mid and late game.
All right, WildTurtle. I love having him back in the league.
That too, just a crowd favorite.
Yeah, every time he smiles, it just brightens up the room. So that's doing it. That's it from Mark and I. Emily is going to tell you a little bit more about Bolulu in Draw My Life.
Hello, and welcome over to this side of the set. Recently, WildTurtle wasn't the only player to come into the league. Bolulu actually joined Immortals Lineup, so I thought it was a good time to talk a little bit about his extensive career, draw my LCS and TCL life, Bolulu. Owner John Bolulu Demeral's IGN actually has nothing to do with the champion Lulu, which I've seen some people erroneously thinking, but it means from Bolu, which is where his family is from. In 2019, his first professional TCL split, Bolulu won with Fenerbahce and represented Turkey and the TCL at MSI. Bolulu is most well known for his prowess on Zoe and Vel'Coz specifically, the former of which he's already played and won with in the LCS. If Bolulu were to play another position other than mid lane, it would be jungle, which I think really suits the fact that he is a very communicative player. And then while in TCL, I can't stress enough how successful he was. He was a 3-time TCL champion, made Worlds 2 times, and MSI once. So now on Immortals, Bolulu has impressed in both NACL and now LCS, and in talking to him, he really hopes that his strong voice and leadership can help give the team a little bit more direction. And so, Mark, I heard you had another Immortals point to talk about as well.
Yeah, I caught up with their other Turkish player, Double-Lift.
Well, welcome back to Catching Up with Double-Lift. This one was my bad. I actually forgot to send in the invite, so instead we grabbed Fleshy.
Hello, everyone.
How's the season been?
Good. Thanks.
Not you, Fleshy. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, it's good. I feel good about our team.
Do you think that your team is underrated?
Yeah.
What about you? Do you think you've been underrated?
I mean, I don't say underrated because anyone know me, you know.
Do you like the yo-yo?
Yeah, I never tried, I think. My friends were doing it, the yo-yo thing, but...
Who is your favorite teammate?
Revenge?
Why Revenge?
Yeah,
why Revenge?
I live with him and he's so friendly to me. Thank you.
No, you got...
Oh. Oh, okay. Are we feeding you? Maybe too fast, yeah.
Almost.
Oh. Okay,
right.
I'm done.
All right.
Another question.
This is your first time in America?
You want to throw one?
Ah, Looks like I've got egg on my face.
What do you call a man without body and nose?
No body and no nose. I don't know.
Nobody knows.
You got an eggshell
Where?
all over. I wanted to talk a little bit about dreams.
Oh yeah?
Do you ever dream?
Yeah.
What do you dream about? I had this dream the other day, and my parents were both stuck in this like spaceship, like storage container thing that would it would take the cars from, because I could see them up there and they were scared. And so I went to the restaurant next door, and Charlie was working. He was like, "Oh, we got to go save your parents." So we went to try to find the cable that was dragging all over the ground, and it was like there, and we didn't want to touch it because it was like electric.
Stop! I don't like that. Who do you think's the best support player in the world? All right. Do you have any secret talents? Do you like Art Deco?
Shut the fuck up, okay? Clean that all.
That is a good shot caller. I would follow that guy anywhere. Holy shit. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.
Fleshy is tired of whatever Mark is stirring up. He's having no more.
He's had enough.
It's done.
It's
He's
Fleshy
out of there.
unhinged.
I have reason to believe that may have just happened behind the scenes live just now, and he'll be walking out to play today with glass bottles still in his hand from telling Mark how it is, and hopefully he can bring that same wrath against TSM today. You like that segue?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow, very well done. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a big win, you know, if Immortals can actually pick up another dub here, trying to take down TSM, who I think it's fair to say is on like a little bit of a hot streak. You know, I think has been doing better of late and have been able to actually put themselves into the playoff picture now. You know, they have to continue picking up wins. They talked about it at the start of the day on the desk, but the target for most teams to make playoffs is 9.
Yeah.
That is historically where you need to actually be able to get. 9 wins does not always guarantee you, but almost always you're going to be able to make it. I think only in history one team ever missed at 9-9. We have had teams make it at 8-10, but that is exceptionally rare. So
Right.
for to simplify it, you have to get 9 wins generally to get in playoffs with top 6.
We're talking about like 95% chance plus,
Yeah.
like certainty. It's very, very reliable. Unfortunately, it looks like we're having a couple of issues here again, so we might be a couple of minutes late. I was hoping we got most of these out of the way in game number 1. I figured maybe that was a perfect time to have a caster curse because we had Papa Smithy and Spawn back from the time machine. But now it's just saying, no, we don't even have a time machine here. You and I casted last week. This has no mercy. What do we do?
Well, we can talk about the fact that TSM is at 6 wins.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to start looking, actually, try to pull up their strength of schedule here to see who all they have to go up against. I know they went over this earlier in the lounge. But so they have Immortals today. Very, very winnable. That would put them at 7. Tomorrow, TSM has Golden Guardians, which is obviously a much harder opponent. And then they have 100 Thieves. They have Dignitas. And their last game would be FlyQuest. So definitely some tough ones in there. But they do just need to get 3 out of 5, basically, to really kind of secure themselves a playoff spot, which I do think is doable at the level that TSM is playing right now. Especially there are a few of the easier matchups still left in those remaining games.
Yeah, TSM is a team that I think a lot of people had low expectations for, lower at least, coming into this split, that have performed higher than many of those expectations put them at. And with WildTurtle being back on the starting roster here for the main team coming up from Academy, we actually have some of his thoughts about being back here on the LCS stage.
It's a sense of nostalgia and also like nervousness. I think I was like pretty nervous to play in front of a crowd again, especially like LCS.
But you gonna give the speech?
Sure. I mean, my first time in LCS. I just want to do my best every game, and I want to keep showcasing and making it to playoffs and doing the whole run, you know. I really appreciate everyone and everything you guys done for us, and thank you for letting me play in the LCS. It's all for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Turtle back. Obviously, he is, one of the biggest veterans in the league. This guy has been around since the very beginning, and we don't really have a lot of those players left anymore.
No.
Aframu, announced his retirement. Doublelift had been out, but he is back in now. Really, people from like the very, very beginning, it's pretty much like Turtle and Doublelift. Bjergsen pretty early on, but he's even like a later generation than those initial guys.
Right, yeah.
WildTurtle in there. Was he in the first season of LCS? I'm trying to think because he replaced Chaos,
man,
right? But was
bad
that
at
pre
thinking
LCS or not? I can't actually remember if that was pre or post LCS that he actually took the spot on TSM initially. But he is very high up in the total games played, as far as like total kills, assists, like all of these historical records, because he's been around for so long. And especially in those early years, was really a dominant force in this league. I think a lot of the newer fans, don't remember those eras where WildTurtle really was considered very top of the table, was dominating with TSM, and TSM for so many years, had been pretty much a guarantee to make finals and a favorite to win it, right? It was something like 12 straight finals that they actually made. They had this incredible run over the course of, many, many years, and TSM now is in a very different place, right? Over these last couple of years has been more of kind of a rebuilding phase, more trying to actually, find the direction for this team, for this organization, for the future.
And you remember, like, you talked about all of these players from back in the day. So many have left the LCS just with the passage of time. It's the nature of sports and competition and everything like that. And I mean, the original TSM back in the day, like Dyrus and Odd One, Reggie in mid lane, you had Chaos bottom, right? Like, that was the Bay Life era, right? Dyrus nearly burns the house down. Odd One got scurvy. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And then after that, you moved into, like, Bjergsen became the face of the org for so long. Like, they were synonymous, TSM and Bjergsen. And since that era, they haven't had, like, that same just massive presence when they walk in the room and teams and fans scream their name at competitions they got kicked out of 3 weeks ago, right? Like, WildTurtle is one of those longtime guys that it's so easy to root for, too, because not only is he this player who at his peak was excellent, one of the best ones that we've had here in the region for the AD carry position, but he's also just such a likable dude. Like, he just has this very positive energy about him. He's the kind of guy that it's very easy to get along with, talk to him, even if you've never met him. And I think having a guy like that on the team that's just so easy to get along with and has this good attitude, I think every team does good having people like that on it.
Absolutely. It's kind of those moonmaker type players, right? When things aren't necessarily going your way, the attitude, the atmosphere can get really negative really fast unless you have someone who can really kind of boost everyone up, who can be that positive vibe that you do need in the team. And he also performed actually quite well, I think, last week with the team, which I think to many who watch NACL was a bit of a surprise because he had not actually been considered one of the better ADs in the NACL. He had actually been struggling, down there in a lower tier league. So for him to come out and actually perform at this high level, I think was really important for him and his chances of staying on this LCS roster.
Well, we are into draft now, and hey, we're kicking it off talking about positive vibes and ADs. Zeri's banned. That's both. We've also got
good vibes only, baby.
Out of here, Pentakill Pikachu. And now we've got Ashe and Elise also banned by IMT. TSM banning out the Xayah, the Kindred, and the Zoe. Remember, Kindred is that pocket pick for specifically Kenvi and Pioshik here in the LCS. Those are really the two players you worry about playing that. TSM gonna first pick the Annie for themselves. Powerful flex there between mid and support, while it's Varus and Viego locked in for Immortals.
And we were talking about the TSM side of a lot of it. We didn't really get to touch on the fact that Bolulu, it was also his first weekend up with the LCS roster last week. He did actually get a win on the Zoe. It was then banned against him the next game, but I think he still had a good performance on the Ahri, was very proactive in that game, and did feel like he could be a bit of a difference maker, for this team to have some aggression, for this team to not just be sitting back and kind of accepting losses, to be pushing and really looking to find fights, find windows to come back into games, which is so important. The early Xayah ban to me was immediately interesting because I think that is kind of telegraphing that TSM wants to play heavily towards dive. They want to play really aggressive, get towards the backline. Xayah is something that we'll be able to deal with and answer that. So I think that's why they're taking that off the table. Annie is obviously showing that you are going to be having some dive. I'm just curious what the buddies are going to be paired with that. It is going to be Annie mid, pretty much guaranteed here. With the Karma being drafted, that likely will be bought. Sure, there's possibilities of flexing around, but I'm going to operate under the assumption that we'll be Maple playing that Annie mid. And then I'm just thinking, all right, is it going to be some sort of an engaged tank from solo? Is it going to be a dive buddy here from Bugi in the jungle? Are you looking towards something like a Vi or something along those lines to have multiple things that you can throw back into the back line, try to burst down this Varus?
Well, that Varus is going to have a Nautilus next to him. You can see the current win percentage for Nautilus at 17 here in the LCS. I think that means he's been played 6 games and won 1 of them. So not the most powerful champion in the current state of the meta. Definitely does not fit the bill for what you usually see, which is enchanters that have a solid or better laning phase. Nautilus has been a champion in the past, has been a meta staple. He has received many nerfs because of it, and a lot of players have found him since those nerfs to be not nearly as good as he used to be. So I'm very curious how Immortals wants to use this pick specifically to make this game work out, because Caitlyn Karma has a lot of lane presence, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, to be fair, you always have to look at, what are the teams that are actually playing it, right? And when we're looking at what are the teams that are actually playing the Nautilus, it is all teams that are down towards the bottom of the table. It is actually Fleshy. This would be his 4th game playing it. He has 0-3 on it. Chime has 1 game on it. Gnar has 1 game on it. And then Winsome, before he was actually replaced by Ayla, does have that 1 win that it has. So it is teams that are down towards the lower end of the table. It is going to give you some hard engage that is kind of guaranteed. The follow-up can be really nice as pairing with Varus, because that knock-up is going to guarantee you could hit that ulti as a follow-up, or even at least your Q there as that follow-up. Vel'Coz, well, I wouldn't normally react. Oh, it's actually just
locked in.
Oh, so he just locked this in.
I was waiting for you to notice it. I was like...
Well, because I was going to say, this is actually a Bolulu special.
Yeah,
this is one of his things that he actually did play in Academy. And I actually love that when he came up to this LCS stage for Immortals, he immediately went towards comfort. He immediately went towards the picks that work for him. And Immortals was actually playing through him to enable it. I saw that sitting there, and I'm just immediately, of course, that's a hover, don't react, right? And then I realized, okay, TSM's
That's
picking.
what I did too. And then I saw the arrow movement thing on TSM side. I was like, hold up. Hold on now.
But this is going to be really interesting, because it does mean Annie is going to be pretty heavily outranged. Vel'Coz you can't really blind, but it can actually be a really strong answer.
Yeah.
Because you do outrange Annie very, very hard, and you have that ability to have powerful waves there to try to lock Annie in lane. You're obviously going to have to be careful about any potential ganks that come through, because flash stun plus follow-up from something like a Wukong can be very, very dangerous. Vel'Coz is usually really, really squishy, but you have incredible consistent damage if you're able to actually land your skill shots, and you can actually shred through tanks pretty effectively with your passive, and the ulti does so much damage. So I do think it's a really strong pick, but it's one of those that can be so powerful or completely useless, just all based on if you're hitting these skill shots.
It feels like in a similar category to Xerath for me, like the artillery mage that hangs back from a long distance away. Because if you can hit that sine, cosine, tangent Q of his, that thing will strike from an incredibly far distance if you land the max range. But okay, let's see. Final pick of the draft for Immortals will be Revenge on the Gnar. Solo's on the Sion here for TSM. Solo has been great at being a topside role player here for TSM. Just whatever the team needs, he'll play it. You don't got to give him resources. He'll just sit up there and do what he needs to do on Sion. Revenge, we know he can be a player that can take over a game if they want to focus it. But man, the Vel'Coz is what I'm looking at so much this game. We get to see this champion so rarely. I really want to see Bolulu flex those muscles.
Absolutely. It is Bolulu's 3rd most played champion all time in his career. 26 games played, a nearly 77% win rate on the champion. So doing really, really well on it. He brought it out twice so far in NACL. It was 1 win, 1 loss. I'm also interested to see what kind of a build he's going to go for. Is he going to go like highest DPS build, or is he going to be a little bit nervous about the potential of the dive coming through from this Wukong, from this Annie, and feel like he has to itemize a little bit more defensively, go towards a mythic like a Roa or something to try to give him a little bit more stability there? Or is it just going to be, Luden's Leandries, something a bit more aggressive? Will be interesting to note.
But I want to go back to what you were talking about before the draft, when we got into this. The TSM schedule, you said it's still very possible for them to make it into playoffs, but you got to make sure that, you're winning the games against the opponents that you're predicted to be able to beat. The Des talked about that at the top of the day, too. If you're a middle-of-the-pack team, you need to guarantee that you beat lower-of-the-pack teams. Immortals have an opportunity to really jeopardize TSM's chances here. I don't believe Immortals are officially eliminated from anything yet, but it is going to be a pretty long shot for them to make it into the playoffs, and it would start with a win taking down TSM.
Yeah, my understanding is no one is mathematically eliminated just yet. Dignitas even, I know that there was that fan sent in scenario where they could make it, but that requires...
He found the Doctor Strange 1 universe.
Yeah, they required TSM to win, I think, 0 games rest of split, and pretty much everyone above them to win no games, which is probably not going to happen. But, generally speaking, Immortals are realistically not going to make playoffs. There is a potential of a miracle run. If they could go 5-0, they would have a shot at 8 and 10. But that's realistically, the only kind of chance that they would have. I'm going to be really excited to see how this mid lane goes, though. Both of them are actually playing first strike here, so I do think it's going to be difficult for Annie to really be getting many of those procs because you are so heavily outranged by Bolulu on this Vel'Coz. But we'll see how well he's going to be able to perform. You know, so much of it is about the angles that you can actually find with these Qs and early activations on the Q. You know, not even just max ranging it, being able to bend it between those minions and so on is really, really important.
And that's why I like the fact that this is one of his most played champions. This isn't a guy who's just saying, hey, I put 10 games on it in solo queue. Let's see how it does in this game because it's a good matchup statistically. This is a dude who I expect to be able to find those angles and use that to its maximum potential. I really just want to see Immortals kind of work on what Papa Smithy was talking about last game, especially with what you mentioned with them not really having a great chance of making it into playoffs. Have goals, perfect mistakes, and really refine yourselves to become the better team, because we've heard that these guys are solid in scrims. We've heard that they're not just a pushover, they just haven't found the results on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually did an episode of The Dive with a couple of Golden Guardians guys just last week. It was with 6day and Licorice, and they actually talked about how against Immortals, they have a way worse scrim record than they do against basically all of the top teams, against, you know, the FlyQuest and the C9s and so on of the world. They're actually doing better against them than they are against Immortals. So clearly, you know, Immortals does have some real skill. They just have to be able to actually translate that to stage. And I think one of the things that they've really struggled with is finding consistency and finding a consistent win condition. You know, what is the strategy that Immortals actually wants to go into every week? You know, and what is their reliable way to actually win games? And they haven't really been able to find that. A lot of pros are really quick to give credit to Revenge. And we've heard a lot of different people talking about how they believe that he is actually a really strong top laner. He just hasn't necessarily been able to show it on this team or on stage. So
yeah, I was about to say, hold on, as we do have both summoner spells being spent by Bolulu here in mid lane to get away from the gank of Maple and Bugi working together there. It was Maple's flash also spent, so we now have two immobile, vulnerable mid laners without flashes. I expect to see plenty more jungle attention here in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you know, Bugi post 6 can become really, really dangerous when you actually have that CC to set it up. The trade of flashes at least means that it isn't Bolulu losing his flash for a jungler flash, and then Maple would have a very free setup with a flash stun, and jungler's going to come in and you're dead. So it is at the very least that. But anytime you're playing double combat sums and you actually do get forced back to base against someone who has TP, it can get pretty bad for your lane state. Thankfully for him, he did have a pushing wave. Not a great buy on the base though. You know, it is just boots and a pink ward basically that he's able to get back. So not really sitting comfortably after that.
Maple and Bolulu will, let's see.
Oh,
He's gonna
so
come around
annoying.
again. Just walks over, clears that ward. Yeah, he's not gonna get the gank off, but without that vision, now you're gonna have to play even more safe. Tactical and Fleshy with a nice dredge line. He's gone fishing, and it's gonna be a big one pulled up here for Immortals. They'll get first blood, but Bugi's ready to do something about it and get one back. He's gotta be careful because Viego is nearby. They see that mist coming around the wall. They'll deploy Bugi's clone to make sure Fleshy's not able to find a follow-up dredge line, and now Immortals just want to stick around and crash this wave in, make Turtle lose out on some farm as they try to shove the rest of the wave up. Turtle is coming back. I don't think TSM is going to really try to do a whole lot with making a play happen here. Immortals can now back away, but nice engage from Fleshy. Nice follow-up from Immortals. Good job getting the first blood.
Absolutely, that's huge. Turtle, you know, is going to be able to catch the wave, so it's not a total disaster for him. But very, very good for Immortals that they actually get the crash. They can take a free base, walk right back to lane. And this is just a hook that had to be flashed, right? You're not going to be able to actually sidestep it from this position. The first hook does not connect, and they try to go a bit aggressive here. But the problem is Turtle is actually hitting Fleshy while Tactical is hitting Turtle. And that's one of those situations you never really want to be in.
Yeah.
And then in this situation here, Turtle clearly saw he was about to get hooked. He thinks he can maybe outrange it or sidestep it just with the heal move speed. But it was clearly not enough. You know, didn't even actually move towards that sidestep. Does get connected on with that hook, and because that earlier trade had gone Tactical's way, ends up going pretty bad for him. Nice little trading ult there for Revenge, has the earlier level 6. Solo's not in any trouble. You know, he's gonna hit 6 here, has DP available as well, but this is what you wanna do on Gnar. Push in, trade aggressively under that tower, utilize your Mega Gnar as some pseudo sustain here. But both teams out around mid. This could be a 3v3.
It's a party in mid lane. Maple got knocked up into the air. Kenvi goes for the flash, and the follow from Fleshy is ready to go. Immortals find the first kill. Bugi jumps in, seeing if he may be able to recover something here second. But they still had the body. They still had that spirit there for Kenvi to possess. He can drop the aggro, and it means Bugi has to back away. Immortals 2-0 the lead.
Really well done. You know, they're able to actually preempt that gank. It was TSM that was setting up on the other side to try to make a play of their own. But the flash being available here for Kenvi, flashes past the minions, lands that W stun. And then one of the nice things about Vel'Coz is Vel'Coz can assist on that backline damage, you know, from range, right? He just drops the ulti there, putting so much damage down onto Maple that with Fleshy and Kenvi locking him in place, they have more than enough to grab that kill. So Immortals looking really good in these early moments, and they're gonna have a very annoying team to play against. There's gonna be a lot of poke here between the Lethality Varus, you know, Tactical playing Comet. We do have Bolulu here as well on the Vel'Coz. So if these guys are actually on point with their skill shots, if TSM fall behind at all, it becomes really tough to deal with. Because when you're playing, you know, Andy, Wukong, these types of champions, you've got to be moving forward. You've got to be looking for all-ins. You can't just sit back and tank poke forever from Vel'Coz and Varus.
Now, the one thing that you can smile at a little bit if you're TSM is the fact that both the kills are on Nautilus, so it's not like Varus is spiking faster on his lethality. It's not like Viego is going to have some extra money to get ahead earlier. But I do want to bring up something that actually one of the tweets on our screen was talking about. It was Cubby, one of the NACL casters.
I know that guy.
Yeah, I think I've met that guy before, but he was talking about how this is one of Kenvi's champs. This is a guy who the dudes who were casting Academy or NACL or whatever the name of it is these days, when they talked about him all the time as one of the dudes who was a standout down there, it's because he played carries. This was not a sire of Sejuani. This was a man who wanted to get in there and stab you or shoot you or do any of these other carry activities in-game, of course, and that's how he won. So seeing him on the Viego is right where you want to see it for Immortals. Flash coming out there from WildTurtle. If that hook hit, it would have been lights out.
Yeah, but that is a big ulti already from Tactical. You know, they just look for the lane gank there. The ulti forces the flash, and that now means his flash is going to be off-timer with Fleshy's, off-timer with Kenvi, so there's going to be that window of opportunity to try to punish here again. Bugi coming up behind here. Solo could try to set it up.
Yeah, and he will. Goes ahead, uses the ulti point-blank range just to make sure he keeps Revenge close by. Revenge does go ahead and use that crunch to jump away with the Mega Gnar form. Clears enough distance, he'll stay alive. Tactical taking some poke down here in bottom lane on the Varus, but he'll just make his way back up through the river, grab those honey fruits. Always feels great. And Fleshy with a Hex Flash over the wall to see if there was an angle there on Maple, but it's a little bit too risky with the enemy mid laner still at full HP and so close to the turret. So instead, he'll just walk up and help Kenvi go for that first neutral objective in the Rift Herald. You can see Bolulu just using the ulti, chunk Maple low, make it harder for TSM to try to interfere with this objective.
Exactly, he hits the 1Q there, and then that's all it takes for him to just be willing to just let it rip. I mean, Maple's getting poked out very heavily. This is almost impossible to enter. If you try to walk through that corridor, you're gonna get roasted by Vel'Coz W's. The E is very easy to hit walking through that corridor as well. So, you know, just let it rip. Use that ulti for the lane prio later on in the game when you have a couple items. That can actually, you know, be threatening a kill in that position. The Vel'Coz ulti really scales well. It can be incredibly difficult to deal with later on. But I like just using it for lane pressure at this stage of the game, and that gets them an easy Herald here that TSM weren't in a position to contest.
Immortals with a 1,500 gold lead and Herald in pocket with the full plate timer to use it and get even more money there. We are seeing the second game of the day where Dragon does not take early prio. Previous game, first Drake didn't drop till what, 10, 11 minutes? This time's looking like it's going to be a very similar story. But Immortals are loving the way the early game has played out thus far. TSM trying to just stabilize a little bit. It's not like 1,500 gold is going to end your game when you have the scaling powers of a Sion in the top lane, when you have the engage ability of a Wukong and an Annie working together for those big AoEs, but TSM's got to make sure they stop this bleeding.
Absolutely, and I think range is going to be the big difficulty for them. You know, can they actually deal with the Varus and Vel'Coz poke later on? Sure, Sion could get to the point where he builds a Warmog, he starts shrugging off that poke, but they do have the ability to try to poke past him, look for champions like the Annie that really do struggle to actually find positioning as long as you're tracking them on vision, and he can really struggle to find those windows of opportunity. You know, Annie, sure, it's easy to say, I just flash on him and look for a stun, but Vel'Coz and Varus can be hitting you long before you're in range for that flash engage, unless you can deny vision, unless you can have those flanks coming out where they're not able to spot you approaching. So that is going to be so important for TSM's success later on in this game, is that vision game.
And I like how the types of poke are very different. because of the fact that Tactical can pierce through direct targets, but he's always aiming a straight line. Vel'Coz having the unique ability to get the angles means it's not just, hey, Solo, go stand in front of him with 6,000 HP, at least 800 units away from anyone else, and just let all this dumb crap hit you over and over again. They can go past him. Bolulu does have the experience on that 77% win rate to say, maybe I'll just shoot to the side.
Exactly.
And that's what I want to see.
It's not Ezreal, it is not Jace, it is not that more traditional poke as you're talking about, where you can just have that brick wall standing in front of it, deliberately tanking all the poke and kind of shrugging it off. It's much more difficult to deal with. Sion can definitely clear brushes, can help you to try to establish that vision, but look at this!
Oh, Maple just getting chunked for a massive amount of HP, but TSM have found their way in for a counterattack, and Chime's gonna find the first kill. They're gonna grab the second, and it goes over to Bugi. TSM, they get jumped on, but they punch right back and tie this game up 2-2.
Nicely done by TSM. They just have the extra members there. 4 members showing up for TSM. It does mean they're gonna lose some plates and some minions down on bot side. But I don't think Immortals was actually expecting that. I think they were expecting a 3v2 or potentially even a 3v3. So Bolulu getting that early chunk would have been great in that situation. But with the extra man showing up for TSM, they're able to get that lockdown, burst down Kenvi, burst down Fleshy. Getting those kills and the shutdown is going to be really, really big.
And this was always the state of the things. Let's take another look, and then I'll get back to what I was saying, because, yeah, the start for Immortals looked really good here.
Yeah, exactly. They think they have maybe it's 3v2, maybe it's a 3v3. They go in, and all of a sudden, everyone is showing up here right around Vision. Those 3 members from TSM pop out from around the corner, and immediately Kenvi tries to turn tail and run, but he's locked down for far too long. The follow-up CC is actually pretty rough to deal with. You have the knockup from the Wukongs, you have a stun from the Annie, traps can come through there, tether as well from that Karma, so there is a lot of follow-up CC available. And now just gonna have to actually drop that Herald mid here, don't want it to expire. Want to be able to cash in on a couple plates here before 14 minutes.
And Viego hasn't been meta recently, but remember, back when he first came out, when he was so strong, when the Ruined King ruined the jungle meta, the way that this guy did it was you had to stop him from getting the first kill. If he gets the first kill, he possesses the soul, he snowballs, he just continues jumping. But if you chunk him low, if you force him back, like with those defensive ultimates, all of a sudden, this guy's not feeling so hot anymore.
Yeah, it becomes really, really difficult. Especially against some of these teams that do have a lot of CC, right? Because you want to play on the line when you're playing Viego. You need to really risk it all to get that first reset. And then all of a sudden, not only you're actually resetting your health and getting that invulnerability, you're getting a new set of spells to spam out, then you pop in another alt reset, and everything really starts to snowball there. TSM, though, looking to try to set up a bit of a pick here. Kenvi will spot them over the wall, but he's got to be careful.
Yeah, that sweeper was clutch.
Yeah.
Seeing the multiple silhouettes inside the brush, you decide there's nothing to do in there, not until you got backup anyway. They do have Fleshy roaming around with him. Tactical was shoving up bot, but he recognizes the need to get back too. If TSM's looking at the bot side jungle, they can easily pivot to bottom. Top's gonna look like this every time we pan up there. It's pretty much Gnar shoving up the wave and Sion bonking him with a hammer for 3 damage. This is a Sion lane.
Yeah, it is, definitely. I will say, Frozen Heart, great early item here for Sion. It is really nice for the laning phase because it actually gives you some mana, gives you the armor to survive against the Gnar. But one of the reasons I don't love it is that when it's poke Varus, he doesn't really care about the attack speed AoE slow that you're actually applying. And it gives you no defensive stats at all against the Vel'Coz. So I do think an HP-based item here could be more effective in a game like this. We'll see if that does actually hurt Solo a little bit later on. But he has 0 defensive stats against the Vel'Coz, who can be a threat to frontline.
Well, at least for the early phases here that we are still in, it'll be doing fine against the Gnar and the Viego, but Fleshy's got to back up in the bottom side. The Gnar has showed up to try to help these guys now, but again, it's a defensive ulti from Kenvi. It's Revenge having to jump away defensively. It's TSM
Sion!
bringing in the choo-choo train! Here comes Sion, but he won't catch anybody in time. Instead, the laser sweeps in from Bolulu, but again, it's not enough. Everybody's throwing in the kitchen sink, but nobody's got a nice kitchen. Immortals and TSM are both walking away. Not a dead man anywhere to be found on the Rift.
10 men bot and no kills to be had. But low health bars here, and the Dragon is ready to go. And will Immortals actually start this up? They know that Annie had to go back to base and has no TP, so they do have the extra man. And I think that's going to give them the confidence to try to actually secure this Dragon.
Okay.
TSM is basing, so Immortals, yeah, they don't get any kills, but they do maintain a slight gold advantage, and they grab their first Dragon of the game.
All right, they're going to feel good about that. The point that I was going to bring up is, hey, at least Frozen Heart for now, if you're mostly thinking that you're only going to be fighting Gnar and Viego, it feels good there.
Yep.
and then right as I was saying it, he shows up in the middle of everybody on the team, and all of a sudden it makes no sense whatsoever. So, just like Spawn pointed out last game, the caster curse magic lasts for everybody.
It's true, true. Frozen Heart isn't a bad item, and it's not to be roasting solo by any means.
Oh,
it's actually great for laning phase. Sion does actually need some mana, for that laning phase. You're reliant very heavily on your spells to clear out these waves against Gnar, who's going to be permanent pushing. If you go you start missing all the farm under a tower, and it's a disaster. So, it's not really to criticize that, but it is to say there is a big drawback of this item that, when there is people who are not really reliant on those auto attacks, and when there's people who are doing heavy magic damage, this thing doesn't really do much for you. TSM, though, trying to trade back with his Herald on the top side.
He'll still be a raid boss, but the raid boss does have that red weak spot that says, hey, if you hit me here, that's how you're supposed to win this fight. Ooh, close. But unfortunately for Immortals, it is TSM grabbing that Eye of the Herald here, securing the Rift Herald for themselves. Bugi with his Divine Sunderer on the Wukong is going to be the one picking that up. You can see Rod of Ages completed for Maple's Annie. That's already got 2 stacks on it. And answering the questions that you were asking back during draft about Bolulu's Vel'Coz, it is Leandri's first. I'm hoping to see full glass, full artillery. If I hit them, they're dead. Vel'Coz.
This is way more, my preference as well. I think when you're playing a champion like this, you have to be confident in your positioning, right? You need to be maximizing your damage with your build and relying on the fact that you're not going to be in range, that you're going to have vision, you're going to have coverage when they're looking for these engages.
Oh,
you're trying to find tactical.
Tactical. Nearly got jumped on there. Luckily for him, Ghostblade completed his first item. That active gave him the move speed to just barely clear what would have been the Nimbus strike from Bugi's Wukong.
Yep, and he still had that flash available. He still had his ult, so he had some ways to actually stay safe there. So good job by him. We'll see what the follow-up items are going to be from Solo. Going to be interested to find out kind of where he wants to go, as his third item. Turtle, I do like that he's actually going BT second. I think in a lot of cases, people are actually just going BT first against these types of teams. BT plus Overheal really, really strong now. The shield got buffed a couple of patches ago, and it just becomes so actually difficult to burst these carries down. And then when you're adding in the fact that you can shrug off things like the Varus poke, like that Vel'Coz poke, BT just becomes such a desirable item for ADs in this game.
Still a 1,000 gold lead for Immortals. 1 Drake on each side. Pretty even game here between the 6 and 7 TSM versus the 3 and 10 Immortals. Tactical getting away from that play top, I think, is going to be very important now that we're firmly in the mid game, especially just because Tactical is such a confidence player. When he's in the zone and he's feeling it, this guy can put out some master mechanical performances, but when he's more shaken up, when he doesn't have that same I'm going to win us this game mentality, we see him make mistakes. We see him get caught out. So avoiding the early errors, keeping things on track as the game progresses, I think will come in clutch.
Absolutely. It's really important to have that confidence in your own play, to feel like you're in a good spot. Oh, they're gonna find a pick.
Uh-oh! Over the wall they go. Into the ground he goes. Chime is down. And finally, Immortals get a kill on somebody not named Fleshy. Bolulu is on the board.
Yeah, Bolulu is on the board, and he's been farming really well. Also, up above that 10 CS per minute. This mid lane tower is very low, so that's going to go down here. More gold injected into Bolulu's pockets in this position. Going to be feeling really, really good. We'll see how they're going to try to set up for this next dragon. First move to dragon becomes so important, but Revenge is going to get this tower. Is he going to get out? Boogie's got to try to actually interrupt the hop here with his ulti. That's what he's looking for.
Just starts off immediately with the Q so that then he can get the reset after using the ulti. There was no way out for Revenge. TSM plays it well and gets to punish him for taking up shot.
Yep, they are going to get that kill back, but it's just kind of a trade of gold. No objective available for them to go straight towards, so it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
25 seconds till he spawns. He still has 50 on the dragon, so he'll be able to make his way over there, no problem. But yeah, whoever actually is first to the dragon and has that initial vision setup, it's going to be a big deal. Obviously, we know face checking into poke teams is very hard, but on the other side, walking through a Caitlyn trap line is also very, very difficult. So both teams are going to have their challenges there.
Bolulu will clear out the wave in bottom lane. The Vel'Coz very effective at doing this no matter how many minions are there. The W is going to pierce through all of them. The Q can still hit a lot of them. Even the E capable of doing some AoE. And you can see Bolulu will just nuke those waves down, and it's time for Maple to try to run away because his allies have already fled the scene, but it's Fleshy and Kenvi coming down. They all back. Fleshy just mad-lifed them, and Maple doesn't have any way home. Kenvi gets the kill.
Great prediction there on the flash from Fleshy. Has him downloaded. aims to the side where he's going to be looking for that flash out. He goes down, and that means it should be an easy dragon here for Immortals. Revenge is rotating down, has a good amount charged up on that Mega Gnar. So if TSM actually commit to the fight, Revenge could look for a flank here, and that would be really problematic. They're going to go for a steal, not going to be able to get it.
Can't get it, Immortals. That means they can just secure themselves the Infernal Drake. That is the prize they get for the pick on Maple. Awesome mechanics from Fleshy to get it done.
And I've got to say, when I'm playing against a poke comp, I am so sad when I see that it is Infernal Soul, because that is very difficult to actually deal with versus these poke comps. You're hoping it's something like Cloud Soul or whatever against a Vel'Coz and a Varus where they're not going to get nearly as much use. But Infernal Soul can put that poke really over the top, can make it so oppressive. So it is going to be hotly contested in these next couple of minutes, playing around these dragons here, because if Immortals can actually secure that soul, they could potentially be wrapping up this game here.
Clips the second completed item for Tactical's Varus. This is not going to give him the flat lethality bonuses that something like Prowler's Claw would. Instead, going to give you more percent-based bonuses as you complete those extra items. It'll help him for shooting through Sion, but most of the other players on TSM will not be building that tanky. About 2,000 gold lead still for IMT here. So let me ask you, Isaac, what do you want to see this team do for the next 8 minutes, going from 22 up to 30, to win this game and guarantee they can keep snowballing?
For Immortals, I think it all just becomes playing around, looking for picks with the Nautilus, and they've been very effective with that. And he's your main engage tool. So play around Fleshy, try to control vision, try to look for picks if TSM is actually overextending for vision themselves. Because if Sion is stuck in a side lane answering the Gnar, there's not really anyone that's safe to clear vision and look for these picks on wards, and trying to place these down. If Chime is actually out there, or even the Wukong, either one of those are great engage for Fleshy. So keep playing with his jungler, keep playing with his mid laner, looking for these picks, establishing vision control, and play heavily towards those dragons, try to go for soul.
Oh man, Maple just showed his face in top lane, and Immortals are immediately ready to try to punish it. 2 TPs coming in at the same time. Solo's gonna be knocked up into the air. The Vel'Coz damage just drowns him. Bolulu takes out the front line of the Vanguard card. Tactical's nearly killed, and Turtle's gonna get the outplay off to the side. It'll be a 1-for-1. The top laner for the AD carry as the fight explodes.
That's what I'm talking about, man, though. Tanks are not tanks. If you don't have MR, if you don't have a lot of HP against this Vel'Coz, he can shred you. And he demonstrates that against the Sion. We've seen Sion be invincible in the LCS so many times these last couple of weeks. And in this case, he just gets destroyed. They do get that kill on Tactical, though, and they get both of the summoners off Tactical, which he's not going to have Flash now, for this next pivotal fight here at the Dragon. And there is going to be Flash on Bugi. The Flash for Maple is going to be back up as well. So Tactical is going to be very vulnerable potentially here. I want to see this fight one more time. So they have 3 members top. The TP is coming in, but they know through that river, there's a lot of members here coming up to try to join in on the other side. And then just this combo here, ulting him into the wall, the full channel ult goes out, and he just gets roasted. Look at Tactical here on the side. Flashes over the Q from Karma, trying to finish off Chime. Can't quite do it. Not sure if it was worth the flash, even if he actually got it there, because even if you trade flashes, you get that kill. The flash for the AD is so valuable, but he is trying to look for that aggressive play, trying to find that outplay. At the end of the day, Immortals staying proactive and continually playing around Fleshy, playing around his ultimates and his roam windows, which is really exactly what I want to see them do.
And you saw Solo flash trying to get away from the Bolulu ulti. The damage on Vel'Coz's ultimate is so deceptive because the first couple of ticks, you feel like you understand the rate you're getting hit at, but then when his passive procs, when you take the true damage from the organism analyzer decomposing.
Organic deconstruction.
Whenever that procs, all of a sudden, that reliable tick rate ends up being more burst than you expected, and you get popped.
And at this point of the game, every time that actually does proc, and you can have it multiple times, it's 300 true damage, right? So that is quite a lot on top of all of this damage that really is being added in with the Leandry's ticks, with a double hit on the W, especially if you're getting CC'd up. Q into double proc on W is 1 proc, then you have another W thrown out, E, your ulti is getting multiple ticks out there. You can start to get multiple procs of that true damage out on a Sion and really shred him. And again, they're just playing around these picks, looking aggressively.
Ooh, Kenvi unfortunately missing the Spectral Maw on Chime means the follow-up target is only the Sion, so Immortals do not want to full commit onto that. Tactical misses his piercing arrow from the brush onto a more vulnerable target in Bugi or Turtle. Kenvi still looking for an engage angle as Revenge is over the wall. He's got Mega Gnar, but it's going to be Maple who finds him first. wall up and do a little bit of a follow-up, but Revenge not spending the ulti, still wanting to save it, even though he transforms back into Mini Gnar now, so he will need to recharge the Gnar bar. TSM still in a standoff here with Immortals, who have priority over the bot side River, as the Drake is about to spawn in 5 seconds.
It's all about the health bars, though. Maple is sent back to base. He can TP back. Chime has lost some health, though. Bugi is down to about half health. They're going to look for the engage. Here comes the TP.
Solo just wants it. They know they can't let him poke.
Oh!
He cannot tank. There's just no way against the Vel'Coz. Solo's too squishy. See it? TSM threw him into the grinder, and Immortals are about to hit soul point on that Infernal Soul.
Yeah, Sion's just not even close to being able to actually tank up all of this damage, even with the Karma behind him. He's going to need a lot more items, and he is getting dangerously behind the pace of the game. When these damage dealers on the other team get too far ahead of your tanks, you can never really hit that critical mass where you can become kind of that brick wall and create space for your damage dealers. And I think Immortals are doing a really good job playing around the fact that they have these low cooldown engages, the ability to actually look for picks with a Kenvi stun or with a hook from Fleshy, get in there, get chunks down on the other team, and make their job really, really difficult. Because if you're at 60%, 70% HP and you're walking in, any sort of combo from the Varus or from the Vel'Coz can be lethal. So these little chips and prods that they're getting down on TSM are so effective prior to the fights.
And I like the fact of what you brought up earlier, saying if Sion is stuck in a side lane against the Gnar, then it's going to be easier for Immortals to set up picks for Fleshy or for the rest of everybody to follow up the damage, which means Solo, he's stuck in a lane against an AD champion. He wants to build more armor. He wants to be able to handle that 1v1. The problem is, Bolulu's going to kill you 100 to 0 as soon as you try to join the fight. It's just, do you want to lose this way, or do you want to lose that way?
And I mean, there's so much CC for him, right? Like, he goes into that fight, as soon as his ulti is used, you can be Mega Gnar stunned, then hooked, then Varus ulted, then Nautilus ulted, then knocked up by the Vel'Coz, then stunned here by Kenvi. You know, all of this lockdown is guaranteeing that the Varus Qs are hitting, is guaranteeing that every part of Vel'Coz kit is hitting as well, and that is really making it impossible for him to survive. So this is definitely getting tough. Immortals playing this poke comp out very well, and they are now at soul point here, 3.5 away from really putting their damage over the top.
Solo's going in again. Bugi's right with him. Tactical's killed immediately. Bolulu fires the laser back over the wall. He'll get one back on Chime. I believe that's 100 to 0 with just the laser.
It is, and look at bot, right? Pushing in bot here. No one is answering the Gnar. So great, you got a kill, but Vel'Coz from downtown kills off your support, so it's a 1-for-1. You did get the beneficial trade, but you're losing your inhib, and as soon as someone shows up bot, Revenge can potentially join the team with a TP if he needs to. We'll have to pay respect to the fact that multiple members did base.
Oh, that was not what Revenge wanted. He wanted to try to use the ulti to knock them away before he got locked down. He commits the flash even, trying to get further away from this. That was an error because you're not getting away once you've seen Maple there. Revenge ends up paying for it on that one. He does get the tier 3 turret in trade for his own life, but now it will be TSM with a 5v4 man advantage for 40 seconds.
And now they can actually push for a potential Baron here. The fact that he lost his flash as well, I think, you know, taking the tower was great, but then going for the inhib is really a bridge too far. It just felt like it was too greedy there from Revenge. And now TSM have an opportunity here, but this is very difficult. Varus and Vel'Coz on red side can contest Baron really well without committing, because they can just constantly poke over the wall. And that is what TSM will have to deal with here. Maple on the side, though, and Solo on the other.
They want to find some way to stop this. Bugi tries to engage on him, but immediately loses most of his power. Solo's ready for the follow-up, and Turtle is disintegrated. They follow it up with Chains of Corruption from Tactical. Look at Solo on the front line trying to survive this. As long as Bolulu stays on him, it's so hard for the Sion to live. He's forced to flash back over the wall as Revenge joins with the Unleashed teleport. TSM knows they got to regroup. They know they've got no health. They know they've got no front line. They know their jungler just went home. And it's Immortal starting up the Baron now.
The positioning is great from Bolulu, though. He's still above them on the side here. Hard to engage in onto. Maple's trying to find him.
Maple just flash engages with the Vel'Coz. He'll survive a little bit longer here with a stopwatch. Revenge swoop. Bolulu's unstoppable. Bolulu's still alive. Maple doesn't kill him. Vel'Coz is running away, but Tibbers gets enraged. They'll end up trading the mid laner for a couple picks on the enemy squad. Maple and Chime both down. Tactical running from Tibbers. What the hell's going on, Azael?
You don't mess with Tibbers, man. I don't know if you played against some of these strong innies lately, but That bear is nothing to scoff at. When's the last time you saw a straight up solo kill in a 5v5 like this, by the way? Literally no one else hits Turtle here. This is 100-0 with the ulti, so he waits till all the CC is used, backs up. Here comes the ulti over the wall. 100-0 solo kill on Turtle. No one else got a point of damage down on him. Almost killed Bugi at the same time. And you've got to be so careful playing in these corridors against Vel'Coz. This is one of the advantages of playing a champion that people aren't really comfortable playing against, that they don't see a lot. You forget about these kind of situations where you're chasing into a jungle corridor. They find the window of opportunity here, though, flashing in, but the stopwatch buys so much time. Gnar comes through, peels off Bolulu. He's able to land another combo down, just burst out Chime. And then sure, eventually Tibbers is able to chase him down and get that kill, but it cost a lot of resources, lost him a lot of lives to be able to get it. We're back to live, we're looking for Soul.
TSM wants to go in, they find Fleshy. Bolulu! Port taking a lot of damage, but it won't matter when Vel'Coz is over the wall. How many times will TSM get caught by this Vel'Coz laser? The follow-up damage comes through, and Solo's forced to ult away. But now it's TSM taking out the enemy jungler and finding themselves with a man advantage. Bolulu's still the X factor. He's still the one that might be able to find the damage over the wall. Again, it's going to be a massive chunk coming from this poke, coming from this Vel'Coz. Turtle goes in. He just might die. No, he won't. That Turtle went wild, baby. He gets the kill shot on Tactical, and the bottom jungle fight rages on. Bolulu's still alive, and that's the only man TSM's really worried about right now.
They got this
They've
now.
got the trap line down, and it means they'll secure the Drake and stop the Soul.
Man, that almost looked like a colossal int from Turtle. That was so close to being one of those plays where your game just ends. But instead, he's playing that line. He's barely able to get the kills and survive there. Heals it up with the BT. And getting that kill really turned things around here. TSM was first to this Dragon Pit. They're trying to play around these corridors, trying to use them to their advantage. We've got to be so cognizant of when you chase into these areas, when you give this free location here for the Vel'Coz to let it rip over the wall to get this first kill. But then it's Immortals that are kind of giving that good positioning to TSM. Look as they overchase into this area. Now all of a sudden, you have this firing line right here where Kenvi is stepping forward. His teammates cannot actually hit the people that are hitting him. They can't walk up and put themselves into that spot. And then this was so risky from Turtle, but look at the overheal shielding, look at the BT there, flashes in, actually gets hit by the stun, but the 90 caliber net went off. Back to back crits there from Turtle. Barely stays alive, barely gets those kills, but him getting him is huge.
Boy, we got ourselves a couple of damage meter giga chads here, trying to outdo one another. Turtle with 5,500, 7,200 from Bolulu in that last skirmish.
Now, Turtle is going to have to be real careful in these next couple minutes here, though, because no flash on him after, Tibbers MVP. Man, Tibbers is actually really hard to deal with now. The amount of HP that thing has later on in the game, you can't really kill it. You can't really ignore it. It is so annoying, especially with Rylai's slow when they have a huge amount of AP behind it. But yeah, Turtle's gonna have to be careful because he's got no flash. There's flash on Revenge, so flash Gnar, could be lights out for him. If they can get any sort of CC setup where Bolulu can even just land the ulti on him over the wall, that is gonna be it for Turtle. But he is getting very strong. Like, look at the amount of shielding on this guy. It's like 1K in shields that you have to break through before you even touch his health bar.
But honestly, I'm still just so fascinated with this Vel'Coz from Bolulu. Holy hell, Tactical.
Ouch.
Have to bring that one back a little bit, buddy. He's going to want some of that HP return. Unfortunately for him, he does not have a Bloodthirster build.
No.
This is one of the things I was going to mention at the end of the last fight. It looked like Turtle only had that one shot left, but just the shield from his ally was enough to keep him alive against Tactical, who doesn't have good auto attack damage, as Maple tries to get away, but the ultimate from Nautilus is still chasing. Now Immortals are looking for their moment. They're already going to kill off Maple, but Bugi's found the back line. He goes in for Tactical. He flashes to guarantee the kill. Kenvi wants to get out, but Bolulu's locking down the enemy jungler. They can't get the reset there for the Viego. Resurrection comes out. Revenge wants to go over the wall, but he's stopped by Solo. He has to flash to get the follow-up, and now Turtle's going to be locked down. They try to go for a bit more damage, but it's a 3v3. They get the execute, and Kenvi has gone in. Solo tries to stand, but against Bolulu, he can only fall. A triple for Turtles with the right on his epitaph as Immortals take out 4. Their jungler's still alive, and that Baron's looking mighty tasty.
Man, what a fight from both sides there. That was really exciting. You know, seeing that force, the initial poke that was on Varus, and then they just immediately go to the Baron. They say, we're going to force in this situation. And it does end up actually really playing a very big part. Again, this location for Bolulu is so good, but then Bugi over the wall. If Tactical wasn't chunked out, he actually can't finish him in this spot, but because they had the early chunk, they force the Baron, he gets the kill. Then watch how well Solo bodyguards here on Revenge. He actually interrupts the hop with his Q, charges it up, knocks him out of the air there, canceling that was really well done. Forcing the flash from Revenge to get in there means he has no way to exit. Turtle gets the kill as a result, but then Kenvi, with the stolen Wukong body, clones in, gets the kill, gets the reset, and is able to help finish off Solo. That is the Viego fantasy right there.
Shout out to Fleshy for that as well. Dredge lining into the Sion just to stop any Decimate that might be getting charged to try to stop Viego from getting into the back line. Makes it very easy for Kenvi to set that one up. This is why I say, if your jungler's known for playing carries, give him some carries. If your mid laner's known for Vel'Coz, here's a whole bunch of tentacles. Let's go.
I mean, it's no mistake that 2 of the 3 wins that Immortals have actually got this split was with Kenvi on Kindred and Graves, right? You know, when he's playing those carries, when he is enabled, that is his style. That is his way to shine. And it feels like Immortals are buying more into this now. And they are really in a good spot here. If they can actually get their way in, Vel'Coz is super fed at this point. 4 full items. Turtle is really the hope, I think, for TSM, because Maple without Flash, it is tough for him to actually close the gap towards these carries without just getting shredded by the poke.
This Drake could determine a lot about the future of the game right here. 5,000 gold lead for Immortals. If they get the Drake, it is Infernal Soul supplementing all that poke they already have. TSM have used Turtle's traps to close off the pathway up into the enemy blue buff jungle. As you can see, Tactical and Kenvi starting up the Drake. They're pulling it down towards the bottom side of the river, further away from the traps of the Caitlyn. Some of those traps expiring now as TSM reassessing what they need to do, where they need to be. Bolulu, still the guy to keep your eyes on. Solo wants to zone Kenvi and Tactical away, but he's got to be careful he doesn't just get caught out. Bolulu stepping back, providing a little bit more covering Virus. Solo has to flash away now as well. Bugi wants Bolulu. Fleshy blocks the ace in the hole from hitting the mid laner, and Immortals seem to have won the health fight, but hasn't been convincing enough to force the Drake now. Maple and Turtle, both still with full HP. Bugi the same. They want to buy enough time for Solo to retreat and return with the teleport. Immortals still using that poke. They've still got Bolulu safely behind a wall. Turtle had to flash away. The Drake at 3,000 HP. Fleshy's here on the front line and Turtle's free firing. Drake down to 2K. They want to burn it down. It's going to be stolen by WildTurtle. TSM have managed to stop the Soul again. A 1-for-1 trade, but the jungler's down. Revenge wants the angle, and now Kenvi still swooping around. He's got Bugi's body, but he can't find any way to reset further. 1-for-1 trade, TSM with the steal, but Revenge is teleporting into the enemy base.
What?
He wants to take out the inhibitor. This is
He might just die for this,
going
though.
on, man. I think he might be in trouble.
No.
Kenvi's coming down to help him. Solo using the ulti to keep that Gnar locked down. WildTurtle wants to chase. Kenvi looking for the opportunity to come in. Turtle says hell no. Just goes forward. Right in the face with the sniper rifle. No scope style. WildTurtle will not go down without a fight.
Man, that TP was at best incredibly risky there. I don't know if he thought that the team was actually going topside to get some vision, and he thought he could have an angle to just get down there in a 1v0 type spot, take that inhib, and get out of there. Does end up giving up his life. There's no objectives on the map, so there is an argument to be made to say, hey, okay, this inhibitor should be down for the Baron spawn. I give up my life, but that is actually a worthy trade, right? Yeah. So I'm going to give him the kind of benefit of the doubt on that. We'll see if it does pay off. Earlier here, flash force there by Fleshy with the hook, steps up into the Sion to actually block this out, and they decide to turn onto this dragon, try to finish it off. You can see ult over the wall from Vel'Coz down to 1,700, 1,300. Smite comes through. That's a 1,500 auto.
He saved the headshot. He attacked until headshot and saved it.
Yeah, and you cannot flame a jungler, and that's the situation. That was 1520 auto there from Turtle. You can only smite for 1,200, buddy.
Yeah, sorry,
There's
man.
nothing you can do in that spot. So great job by Turtle. Really nice secure from him. And as you called it out, great presence of mind to actually save that headshot in that situation. Once Vel'Coz is doing the damage over the wall, trying to actually burst down Bugi, he's going to be hitting the dragon too. The Dragon gets very low there, and they're able to turn that into their favor. But this is that spot that I'm talking about. So yes, Revenge does use his TP, does give up his life. But it means there is constant pressure on that bottom lane. There is no TP on solo to answer it. And this allows them, potentially, to have a better setup here around the Baron in 1 minute when it does spawn. So we have to see if that's going to pay off for Immortals.
This game is going the distance, man. Immortals still with a 5,000 gold lead, but it's so much just coming down to who's getting the right angle on who. Turtle pops anybody like instantly. Bolulu pops anybody pretty much instantly. That Vel'Coz is full build except for the stacks on the Medjai's. So we'll see just how much damage pours out of this ultimate. A lot. I'm pretty sure he almost kills solo from full health with a channel of it.
Oh yeah, I mean it is really crazy. Right now, you know, it is 1,630 damage without counting passive procs. So just from the channel of the ulti. So that is a lot of damage. If you get a full channeled ulti there, that is basically 100 to 0 on most of the members. You're not going to be quite on solo, but with the true damage procs in on there, plus additional damage, it could be. Because every time he procs passive now, that is 500 true damage on top of that. So you get a couple procs of that, all of a sudden, you're doing 2,500, you're doing 3K damage coming out from Vel'Coz, with a lot of it being true damage, and that is so hard to deal with. But Turtle really is this hope on the other side. Turtle is on 6 items, he has a Karma behind him, and he's got Overheal, he's got Bloodthirster, so he is very difficult to actually take down. His Overheal has been so effective this game, it's actually blocked over 5K damage just from his Overheal rune. So that is really paying dividends, and that's not even counting all the damage that the Bloodthirster shield has blocked.
And this is the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin that we were talking about earlier when we were saying, hey, poke Varus and this poke Vel'Coz can be very dangerous. Poke Varus does not have anywhere close to the DPS of Caitlyn in auto attack range.
And which one's the poke champ? Because half of Caitlyn's ult is half of Varus' health. Like, that is really, really scary. Oh God.
No, Revenge getting caught out, having a flash to get over the wall there with the hop. Yeah, he survives, but you're gonna want that flashback.
That is huge, yeah. Getting the flash off of that Mega Gnar is so big. Flash ulti, you are a completely different champion playing Gnar when you have that flash available, because you can really threaten the carries. You're not gonna be able to, in most cases, just hop into the back line onto a Caitlyn that has Gale Force, that is gonna have flash, that is gonna have that 90 caliber net, and really effectively lock her down. That is going to be tough unless you can find a really good angle. So a big cooldown force there by Revenge. Has been, I think, you know, in some dangerous times, in some dangerous places at times in this game, and has been punished a number of different occasions. This is soul point for both teams, and this is a fight that could potentially decide the game here. Revenge does have the Mega Gnar pretty much fully prepped. TSM would like to pop it right now. If they can get some damage onto this Mega Gnar, force him to Mega out early before IMT is ready, that would be huge, but Turtle's just gonna kill it. They're not even there, it's going down instantly.
Turtle just has gone. DPS, the soul is gone. TSM weathered the storm for the longest time, and now over the wall goes Bugi. Pop goes Tactical. Bolulu is exhausted, and TSM ain't done. Bugi with a flash follow. Bolulu is down. Bolulu is down, and that means Immortals are short to follow. Turtle flashes forward. That's what you know him for. That's what you love him for. And that's what won TSM this game here today. This man's had a hell of a show. And Bugi at the end finding Tactical. Bugi at the end finding Bolulu. TSM just forcing on a soul, and they're gonna take the win.
That is a massive win for TSM here. We'll put them to 7-7 on the season. This one looked like it was gonna be all Immortals, but Turtle securing that 3rd dragon for themselves earlier on, and TSM just rushing down the 4th one, then getting those kills. Revenge not going to be able to defend. TSM will take it, and it is a monster performance from Turtle. 10-3-6 on the Caitlyn. Really showing up here for TSM on the LCS stage.
See the turtle of enormous girth. Upon his shell, he holds the earth, and he holds TSM high against Immortals here today. TSM one step closer to the playoffs. WildTurtle showing you how it's done. The retirement home is a myth. He's back, and he's ready to go.
Absolutely, man. Turtle having some great performances here for the team. In what is really kind of a signature Turtle game, with some very risky moments that are going to be able to pay off, right? You know, that flash forward earlier on in the game, you know, up against the Varus, against Bolulu on this Vel'Coz, being able to get that kill, barely survive. That is kind of signature turtle, really riding that line, making some dangerous plays. Being able to pull it off, though, was huge for the team. Cannot emphasize enough how much that headshot, holding that, and actually securing the earlier dragon mattered.
Yeah.
If there's soul for Immortals, this game could look very, very different. But in those later stages, when you're not actually the one set up around that dragon, it became so tough for IMT to actually walk in, because Caitlyn was becoming really, really impressive, had great range, had the ability to shrug off all the poke. And on 6 items, Caitlyn is so threatening that it's like, anytime there wasn't a frontliner paired up with the Vel'Coz or the Varus, they instantly lost half their health to one ult.
Yep.
And it became so tough to actually fight it out from those situations, because then all of a sudden, Wukong can actually now threaten to kill you 100 to 0, well, 50 to 0, right?
Yeah.
Because later on in the game, usually the junglers actually fall off in those kind of spots. All of a sudden, Vi, Wukong can't actually kill a carry off for themselves. Going backline really has reduced value. But when you can get that Caitlyn ult into the backline, it really is extending that value of the Wukong, extending the value of these divers into those later stages, and I think that made such a difference.
And I feel like a lot of this game, too, was watching TSM learn how to deal with Vel'Coz in real time. For the first 20 minutes, Solo's going in like you're Sion up against whatever. Oh, Akali, that's not going to hurt me. Oh, what do we got here? An AD carry. Oh, poke boy? No, you get out of here. No, man. That laser just completely melted his face off. But as the game went on, as Turtle got more fed like you're talking about, we saw TSM only forcing when they had to. Those Drake fights when they're saying, okay, it's now or never, then it really was, instead of pulling the trigger too early, not respecting Vel'Coz's damage because they weren't familiar with it yet.
Absolutely. And while it is in another loss, I've got to say, Immortals with Bolulu feels like a little bit of a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah.
This team is playing to win. Yes, they are still making some mistakes, but I do think he has looked really strong on these comfort champions. You know, we saw it in the Zoe game. He looked great in the Ari game, even though that was in a loss. And this as well, I think, had a really solid performance. So at least there's a bit of momentum here for Immortals. I think even in losses and some things to build upon and learn from.
And with that game all wrapped up, a reminder to come celebrate the start of Fairy Court with us at LCS next Thursday. After the broadcast ends, we'll be hosting an after party with music, food, and much, much more. So if you're here live in Los Angeles, make sure to be a part of that. But remember, it's still time to toss to a break after with that game all wrapped up, and it's Chime and WildTurtle going to be joining the lounge before C9 and EG going head-to-head next. We'll see you there.
Red Bull gives you wings.